Hello, Anchored family. Thanks for taking the time to click on the link and continue in our study of the book of Proverbs together. This morning we're going to look at Proverbs chapter 5. And when it comes to the book of Proverbs, this one's actually a little different. Usually when we think of Proverbs, we think of a bunch of wise sayings, one after the other on a number of different topics and all in one chapter. But with Proverbs chapter 5, if you notice the heading or the title for it, it says warning against adultery. And really, that's what the whole chapter is about, this one sin. And you'll notice that it's addressed to Solomon's son, and therefore it's worded more for how men are tempted. But it's very much a warning to women as well. We're all tempted in this area. And let me quickly add one more thing. We all know that Jesus addressed adultery in Matthew chapter 5, and how he added that even though it may not be physical adultery, lusting for someone who is not your spouse is a form of adultery. It's called adultery in the heart. So let's include that definition as well when we look at these warnings and apply it as well to our eyes, to our thoughts, and what's happening in our mind. Because purity happens first in the mind before it happens with how we live. All right, well, the chapter seems to be broken down into three convenient sections. Once again, verses 1 through 6, verses 7 to 14, and verses 15 to 23. So let's start with verse 1. It says, "My son, be attentive to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my understanding, that you may keep discretion, and your lips may guard knowledge." Over and over, the reminder is that wisdom will not fall into your lap. If you do little, you will receive very little of it. It takes effort. It takes being attentive, inclining your ear, concentrating your mind. And the main benefit that Solomon addresses in this chapter in verse 2 is that you may keep discretion, that you will be someone whose decisions don't bring yourself shame or regret or embarrassment, and that you can continue to have a reputation where people will listen to you. That is, someone whose lips guard knowledge. But if you make poor, devastating life decisions, fewer people are willing to listen to what you say. All right, verses 3 and 4. "For the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword." So here's the bait. Here's what pulls in a person to commit an act that they never thought they would. Few men or women ever wake up to think to themselves, I'm going to find a way to commit adultery today. It doesn't happen that way. There is a constant moving of a line or blurring of a line until that line disappears. And when it comes to the act of immorality, this is usually the way that it starts. The lips of a forbidden woman drip honey. In other words, flirting. Enjoying the conversation and words and company of someone who isn't your spouse. That should be a loud siren going off. If you belong to someone in marriage already, or if they do, then what you might call harmless conversation really is more this: the lips of a forbidden woman dripping honey. Flirting with someone is letting yourself be attracted to them when that person is forbidden to you. Someone you have no right seeking to be romantic with in any way. Because if you don't immediately change course, it says, in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Have you ever tasted something that the moment it hits your lips, it tastes good, but after that, it has this just horrible aftertaste, and it won't go away? Stevia comes to mind, or dark chocolate for maybe some of you. The first taste is good, but then, that's the forbidden woman times 1,000. Because wormwood, it wasn't just bitter. If you had enough of it, it was dangerous. Same with a two-edged sword. There's no dull side where you get lucky and escape. Both sides of it leave you seriously injured. All right, verses 5 and 6. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path to Sheol. She does not ponder the path of life. Her ways wander, and she does not know it. This is the person you're following when you're allowing yourself to get involved with someone you shouldn't. Her feet go down, and they never stop going down. There's no limit to how far you can fall. There's no barrier to stop you in how much destruction you can do to your life. Just like you, he or she isn't pondering the path of life at that time. They're wandering off a cliff, and they don't know it, and you're following. The price is so great. Don't follow her. So that's the first section, how far you can fall if you listen to the lips or flirt with the person that is not your spouse. Next, verses 7 through 14. Verse 7. And now, O sons, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Notice that it says, do not depart from the words of my mouth, because so many people start off well, and they put up boundaries, and they flee temptation, and they do what's right. But then, later on, they start to depart from the wisdom they once followed. There are so many examples of this. We can just give one with King David. He got too comfortable, didn't keep guard, and maintained discretion. And so he made compromises. He got involved with Bathsheba. And wow, did it bring a long, brutal series of very destructive consequences to himself and to his family. So do not depart. Start well and end well. Verses 8 and 9. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your honor to others and your years to the merciless. So stay away from her house. Don't meander over to her desk area or office area. Don't go to that website. Don't read those books. Don't turn on that movie. Keep away. Keep away and do not go near. And then it gives a long list of consequences that will result if you do fall into this sin. Verse 9. You will give away your honor. People will no longer respect you when they see what you have done and what has become of it. You will give your years to the merciless, it says. People who are merciless will point out your shame. It won't leave you very easily. You'll have to live with it. Verse 10. Lest strangers take their fill of your strength, and your labors go to the house of a foreigner. You can spend years accumulating and gathering and earning things in this world through honest hard work, through your strength and effort, and then see it fall apart and taken away from you because of one foolish act. Verses 11 and 12. And at the end of your life, you groan when your flesh and body are consumed, and you say, how I hated discipline, and my heart despised reproof. What a sad place to end up. At the end of your life, groaning because you wanted something that didn't belong to you, and it destroyed every relationship that meant so much to you. And then you let yourself go because you don't care anymore, and your flesh and your body are consumed, maybe getting into drinking, other things, and all because you chose not to be convicted and you ignored all the warning signs. All right, verses 13 and 14. I did not listen to the voice of my teachers or incline my ear to my instructors. I am at the brink of utter ruin in the assembled congregation. So another regret, groaning, wishing so bad that you had kept yourself away from that person, from that relationship. Wise mentors warn us against this destructive path, but the Holy Spirit is the ultimate instructor. But if we don't listen to his voice, our reputation will be lost, like it says, in the assembled congregation, in the public eye. And so you can see from this section, verses 7 to 14, all the self-loathing and shame and regret that follows and sometimes for many years, when you make compromises and act on a momentary desire. Now, finally, the last section, verses 15 to 23. Here is the instruction you should follow so that you don't end up like we just described. Verse 15. Drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. There's nothing wrong with romance in itself, just like with drinking water. It's a natural physical desire. But not all water is the same. Drinking water that belongs to someone else is wrong. Drink from your own cistern, from your own well, and enjoy what belongs to you. And this illustration continues in verses 16 and 17. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets? Let them be for yourself alone and not for strangers with you. Children are often pictured in Scripture as a spring or a fountain that flows from us. So the warning here, I believe, is why commit these intimate acts with someone that's not your spouse, and then you put your children at a disadvantage? Struggling without a secure and a stable home, left to themselves, in the streets maybe. Instead, make wise decisions and give your children a secure home with you, not with strangers. All right, verses 18 to 20. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of your youth, a lovely deer, a graceful doe. Let her breast fill you at all times with delight. Be intoxicated always in her love. Why should you be intoxicated, my son, with a forbidden woman, and embrace the bosom of an adulteress? So, a very obvious command and restatement of what it said before, to drink water from your own cistern. Enjoy the water that belongs to you. Rejoice in her, give thanks to God for her or for him, and do everything to stir up that romantic love between you two. It's a very healthy thing, and it guards you from the embrace of a forbidden woman or man. All right, verses 21 to 23. For man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. In other words, don't even think for a moment that you can hide this sin and get away with it. God sees everything. Everything comes to light. And there may be forgiveness, for God is a forgiving God, just like there was with David. God forgave him, restored him to fellowship with him, but there were consequences. All right, finally, verses 22 and 23. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare them, and he is held fast in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly, he is led astray. So it's a self-inflicted sin. You are ensnaring yourself, letting yourself get entangled with someone romantically that you shouldn't. It's setting a trap for yourself, falling into ruin because of a lack of discipline, and simply saying, nope, that's not for me. So that's Proverbs 5. It's a chapter-long warning to not even start down that path. Whether by what we look at or by a person's company that we seek out, it can tear apart our home. It can destroy and bring to utter ruin our life in so many ways and lead to public shame. And we can get to the end of our life groaning with regret. Thankfully, with God, there is always forgiveness, always mercy, and a restoring of hope and peace and joy in our walk with him, despite the foolish decisions that we can make. But there will be consequences, which are far better to avoid. So let's heed this warning, take it very seriously. Have a great rest of your day.